Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Odess's Historical.
We continue our coverage of Last Argument of Kings, the third book in the original trilogy. For this episode, we'll be covering The Trap and Horrible Old Men. So, let's get started. We want to thank the audience for being patient with Harrison's Thank you
We
all
would
again.
re-record it, but we're in a rush today, so.
Yeah, we are kind of in a rush, so that's all on George. Just spend most of the time, just editing. So good luck.
Sorry, audience.
And now if I do manage to edit it out, I'll have to edit all of this bit out as well.
Well, you can leave it in. Fuck it. This part of it. Just,
It's comedy.
Yeah, because George has still got a few weeks of editing left to do to help me out. So let's get moving to our first segment, which is Best Meme of the Week. George, you want to take it away?
Sure. It's bloody Tam Albor again. He's got to be up to at least a dozen.
At least, if not more.
At least a dozen.
He's like the bloody. He's the. We gotta come. Not the bloody niner.
He's like the Bremer Dan Gorst of First Law memes.
He trains every day at 6 a.m.
And also when we first talked to him, his voice threw me off. Right? I was like, wait, is he Irish or is he like what?
What is he?
I was like, what is this? So go ahead, George. Talk about the meme.
And this is spoiler for for sharp ends, I suppose. It's the J. Jameson laughing meme, and it's if we give Rattleneck his son back, the North might finally have peace. And Logan laughing. So that is funny as hell.
It is. It's pretty fucking hilarious. I saw that earlier today, and I was fucking cracking up.
Spider-Man.
Got me pictures of Spider-Man, damn it.
Well, thank you, Tam Elbor, the Returned, right? Is that his new name?
Yes, Tam Elbor returned. Thank you very
And
much.
Returned. Thank you. So let's go ahead to our first chapter read through, which is The Trap. And we start off with Logan's perspective. And they are trudging their way through the high places, the valleys, and the mountains and all that to get to what Crummock Ephale had promised them was a strong fortress. And they're walking, they're trudging. And, Logan sees Isern, little Isern, struggling with her.
Sweet little Isern.
Yeah, sweet little Isern. She's struggling with the giant hammer. Logan offers some help, and she goes, "No, I fucking don't." And it's like, all right, it's right. It looks like she's not gonna. She doesn't do.
I do love it because he's all like, "Oh, she reminds me of my daughter. She would have been. Let me help you. Fuck you."
And I like how Logan says, seems like his touch with women goes all the way down to 10-year-olds too, apparently. So, and then Crummock comes up and he's like, he's proud of his daughter because in order to be part of the family, you got to be fierce. And if he's honest, she's his favorite. Interestingly enough, oh, look at that. And then he's like, "Oh, by the way, we're here. We're here at the fortress." And Logan's like, "Huh?" And he's looking around. He's like, "What are you talking about?" And
Harris, he doesn't even see it. He's just like, "What? Oh God! Oh, by the dead."
Yeah. Somebody, Harrison, the Adeptus, do you want to maybe take over this little description over here of this?
Yeah, it's basically like a wall it's inside of a small valley. And it goes from one side of the mountain to the other side of the mountain, not over the mountain, like in between the valley. And then it goes up into a tower. But it already doesn't sound like much based off the description, but imagine that. But basically the wall is like 10 feet high. It's not even that much. And then the ground behind the wall in the valley has always been eroded away so much, or not eroded away, but stacked up so much because of the wall that basically as soon as you go on the other side, the ground, there is no wall. It's just ground normal above. And everything is covered in vines, trees, and stuff. So it just looks like a normal little valley. It's not much there other than like a 10-foot high wall and maybe like a 20-foot high tower.
And it kind of looks like the walls like sort of slanted a bit, so you could kind of walk up it if you tried to.
Yeah, It's like, I love this too. Whenever they're like discussing it, and they're like, I think Dogman's like, man, we're gonna have to clear this out to make it fortified. And I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I just love it because I think they're like, I think these vines are holding it together, and then Grim like grabs one and pulls out, and like part of the wall comes with it.
Yeah, he's like, yeah.
And he's like, yeah. But Krummicky basically says that this was an old fortress. Back some clan chieftain used it because he was fighting all the other clans, and then all the clans united together and decided they're going to fight him. And this is where he made his final stand. And then he died.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what
In
happened?
that
Oh,
place.
yeah, and they killed him and all his men, and they chopped their heads off and buried their heads in a sack, and then put the sack in the latrine pit, and it's just like, nice, thanks for that story. Like, oh, I'm full of stories, me. Do you want another one? No, that's okay, thank you.
And how does Black Dow react, Jeff, to this mighty fortress?
Oh, Black Dow, when he comes up to it, he goes, "This is it." And I like how even Tall comes up and he's like, he's just kind of confused. He's like, "A strong place in the mountains, you said." And then Crummic's like, "Strongish."
Crummick basically spends this whole little chapter being like, you guys are all pussies. I came here. It doesn't matter. The only thing we have to worry about is the Union showing up. We have the Bloody Nine. He can fight with us. It's not a big deal. Blah, 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 blah. To the point that Logan eventually says, shut up.
yeah, he's tight. He's upset. And then there's a bit of a somewhat of a time jump where Dogman and them are inspecting the other walls or whatever can be called a wall. And like you said, shit's just coming out. Black Dow's just like, oh, fuck this. And then Dogman tells him, hey, listen, we might need your Hillman to get to carving out some stone, mixing some mortar, getting all this stuff. If you have some tools because you live here or live around here, if you could do this. And then Krummick's like, maybe, but I'm not gonna take my orders from you, Dogman. The moon knows my talents, and they're for murder, not for mortaring. And here I like this, where it's like Grim rolled his eyes, and I can only imagine.
He's like, Jesus Christ.
The most silent man is just like, oh my god.
And Logan's like, well, who will you take orders from? And he's like, you, Bloody Nine, you, I will take orders. And he's like, then fucking do your job. Fucking do what he says. Fucking fix the walls, dig a ditch. I don't care if a fuck. Just do it. And he's like, oh, you ain't no fun.
It's like, shut up. And then they come up with the plan that, Dogman is going to take like a crew of excuse me, archers,
He's gonna take two. Sorry, wait, what is it? Three
five,
score, right?
5 score.
Oh, 5 score, which is 100 men, up onto the tower part and be archer, and then he'll have Logan be in charge of the main body of his guys, along with Black Dow and Shiver, Toldaru,
and Red Hat.
Hold the wall. And
Red Hat, because Toldaru's gonna be with them on the tower, throwing rocks and boulders and shit. Jesus Christ.
And then Krummick will bring up the rear, and then him and his Hillman will reinforce and then they'll switch off, so there's kind of a rest.
Yeah,
pretty smart.
It's as smart as it's the best plan they could come up with, considering their 5-star resort, the environment that they're in right now. Yeah, and they're not too optimistic about this, and then there's a bit of a time jump again, and now it's nighttime, and Logan's walking through the camp, the fires, everyone's drinking, smoking some chaga, whatever. And, not the best moods or whatever, but then he comes across Krummick and his fire alongside with his kids. And they start talking to Krummick about oh, how many men have you killed? And he's like, oh, I've killed legions. So many, and everything. I don't know. I mean, he's probably Hillman, I imagine, probably war with each other, right? And then you have his constant raiding and whatnot against Bethod. I mean, I don't know if he's really killed so many people, but I like how when he looks up and he sees Logan, he's like, well, now, and I bet even Bethod would agree with me. If there's one man that's crazier and bloodier than me, is that guy right there. and then the kids are like, who's that? And then he's like, well, that's the Bloody Nine. And the girl, Ithern, is like, You could beat his ass.
Whoa, don't do that. Don't say that.
Don't get him going. No. And then he starts going on and on about how bloody and merciless and quick the Bloody Nine is, and just keeps talking up of just how much of an evil murderer the Bloody Nine is, at least, according to stories. And Logan's just like, I'm not liking it. I'm not liking this.
Yeah.
And then he even compares them to, he's like, there's this, I guess, one famous hillman named Willem. And he got killed by a strike of lightning. And he even said that Logan, the Bloody Nine, kills faster than a strike of lightning. Which is, a little.
Basically, Chroma Fail is like, he's like,
he what?
after all, I am your big fan. Is someone gonna get that reference?
I'm not getting that reference. What's that referring to? All right.
Here, referring to this.
Okay, yeah, right.
Oh,
Crazy.
from the Incredibles. Gotcha. Sure. Anywho, and then one of the kids asks, "Okay, well, what about the feared?" And then Crumbly's like, "Ooh, well, he's not a man. He's something else." But I'm wondering, Fenris the Feared and the Bloody Nine trying to kill each other? Ooh, now that is something I would be excited to see. That is something that the moon would love. It's like, okay, that's a bit of foreshadowing over there.
It's almost like Chroma may know already.
It's
Wonder
almost like
how.
He's like how he would know, George?
No, how could he possibly know that?
No idea.
He also is like, totally unbothered by the fact that they're having a fight, and he says, all we have to worry about is the union. That's all. He's not worried about anything else. Just saying.
I can imagine, like, if Chroma does have the long eye and he looks and he sees what's happening in the next chapter, and he's like, "Fuck's sake."
Oh yeah, right. He probably looks down and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you."
And he's like, "What do you mean, Da?" And he's like, "You're beloved by the moon, son.
Just enjoy this tobacco.
Just look
Go
into
ahead.
the moon, son. Just look into the moon." And I do like here, and also to credit to this theory that we stand behind so ridiculously. Even at the end, he's like, he starts thinking about what might happen, and he looks up into the moon, like he's trying to see. And in the future, we do see someone else with a long eye look into the sky and see things. I don't know.
Possibly, very well.
Reaching, he's opening it.
It could be true. It could be true. Well, that's the end of that chapter. How would you rate that, boys? Me? You want me to go first?
Yes.
I'll give it a 5 out of 9. They get to the little fortress. Make some good, funny jokes about the fortress and Krummick's logistical preparations. And then we get some Logan being uncomfortable about his past. Ooh. But not much else happened. This is kind of like a stopgap.
I'm just gonna go up by 1 because I love Chroma Fail. I think he's absolutely hilarious, and he's not in. He's one of the characters with a very, very small amount of page time.
Mm-hmm.
So when he is there, it's just great.
Nice, Harrison.
I think I'm gonna split the difference. I think 5 and a knuckle.
Ooh, like that.
It's true. Graham McPhail is such a presence, and he's such a unique character, especially with Pacey's voice. But, and I like the fact that there's a lot of foreshadowing in here, and there's a lot of little parallels of, oh look, the sheep in the sheep all huddled up, and they're all the Northmen are looking at the sheep like, that's us.
Yeah.
And but interestingly is, despite their concerns and the thing, the wall being a joke, they do come up with a plan. They're going to put stakes down, and they look down in the valley. I wouldn't want to assault this, honestly, because even though it's not as good as they thought it was, it's still better than fighting them in open ground. So
right,
there's a chance.
Right, because what helps them is just how steep the incline is, like the grade of it. So that's good. That's true.
So they I just think it's a fairly average chapter.
Okay, good. Like that. We'll go straight into our second chapter read through because again, this episode's a little shorter. Um, and we'll go to horrible old men, and we start off with Giselle Dan Luthor, first of his name, right? Is that
First of his yeah.
first of
Wrong
his-
franchise, but yeah.
Whatever, same shit. Hi, King of August
He did
Majesty, blah
He
blah.
did say it though. The last Giselle chapter. They said, look locked in his inner monologue says, "Hi, King Giselle Dan Luthor, first of his name, rose to the throne with unanimous support."
Oh, see, bam, damn.
Oh, fair enough.
Ha
Fair enough.
ha.
But I do think that is one of the only times they.
I think he does say the first. It doesn't say first of his name because I think that is just a Song of Ice and Fire thing.
Oh, you're right. I think.
Okay.
Anyways,
So Giselle is currently getting he's got a couple tailors over here, He's getting one tailor fitted for I guess his little kingly robe, another for his pants or boots or something. What was it? Something like that. They're taking measurements. And then we have another guy who's a jeweler who's trying to doing like a template for a new crown for Giselle. He suggests something after the Austrian fashion, and Baez, who's there as well, is like, no, it's got to be something that man can fight in. It's got to be like martial. And the guy's like,
I was just like, will he be fighting in it? He's like, no, you dolt. But it looks like he might fight in it.
yeah, that's how it's got to be. This is
I-
warrior king.
just so you guys have this image in your mind, I have this thought that Baez almost never looks at Giselle in this entire time. He's almost unless he states that he is. Otherwise, he's like just like looking past him into the sky or like looking at his fingernails. Like
Yeah.
like he's never actually looking at Giselle until it states that he does. And for some reason, it always makes the chapter even that
Well,
much better.
it does say that he grabs Giselle by the arms and stares at his reflection over his
I know
shoulder.
he does that, right?
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
I imagine before that he does that, he's not even looking at him.
Mm,
He's like,
probably, yeah.
oh, I gotta remind.
And I like how he's like talking him up, and he's like, he has killed men by the score, and then Giselle's like, what? And Baez just ignores him. He's like, a man as comfortable as with saddle and sword as with throne and scepter.
I do love how Giselle is so like mundane here too. He's just like, no, I'm not that guy.
Yeah, and and the jeweler's like, okay, I get it, I get it, okay. And then Baez says, one more thing, needs to have a big ass diamond. It's like, all right. And then Baez kicks them all out except for Giselle, and he says that Giselle has affairs to attend to of the state. And here this is actually it's close to like a grandfatherly interaction between Baez and Giselle as they make their way to the closed council. Is that Giselle? He talks about how he doesn't. Sorry, guys. He doesn't talk. He talks about how nervous he is. He feels as if he's a fraud. Correct.
Yeah.
And then he also mentions how he would like to speak to his father. And then Baez is like, your father is dead, the king. And Giselle's like, right. I mean, the man
Right.
the man I thought was my father. And then Baez is like, for what? What do you think he's gonna tell you? Like, he made bad decisions, he took on bad debts, and he took money from me in order to take care of you.
You're
And then this,
breaking up.
fuck me. What was the last clear? What was the last clear thing you heard me say?
You said that, you mean not my father, and then he's like, oh, that's not a good idea.
Okay. Baez basically tells him that it might not be the best idea because what's he gonna be able to tell you that he made bad decisions that put him in debt, and that that the father took money from Baez.
Giselle's just like, he took money?
Yeah, and this is making Giselle a bit more sad, right? So
You also see with Giselle here, like, this is where he starts reaching out for things that are familiar and things that that he wants back, because there's all these changes happening, and again, very human reaction, very honest reaction to be like, wow, I've just been hanging out with Baez and all these people that I don't know. It'd be nice to see my father, who he seems to have a fairly good relationship with his dad,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and so he does, and then he just gets shot down, and this we see him. We see Giselle go through this several times, and it gets more and more depressing each time.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
excuse me. And here, Giselle is getting near the point of tears, right? So,
Exactly.
and he even asked him, like, is my name even Giselle? He's like, yes, it is. Now, especially is now that you've been crowned, unless you want another one. Giselle's like, no, no, of course not.
Yeah, it's not even his name; it's his own, because like he's almost felt like, because of what's happened, he's been stripped of his own identity, and he just found himself.
Yeah.
He just figured out who. Well, he just thought he figured out who he was and the kind of person he wanted to be. Then it got
Mhm.
all ripped away from him,
Yeah.
and now it's not. It's even deeper than that. It's not just lies. It's like I don't know why, but like whenever he says, "Is my name even Giselle?" Like it sounds kind of stupid, and even Bias is like, "Of course it is, whatever, dude." But I feel like it's really important because like your name is like a thing that is you. Like no one can
Mhm.
take your name away, and
Yeah.
he feels like his name is meaningless now
Yeah.
because
I
he
don't.
was, you
Mhm.
know, just Al Dan Luthar, and now it's just what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Not
like
who he
it's
is.
like he's lost control of his entire identity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just piece by piece, just through this little conversation with Byers, which is a wonderful piece of writing.
Yeah, it is. And to Harrison, to your point, I don't think it's stupid. I think it's actually, sad.
It is.
Very sad. Um, and George, you're right. This conversation, this is good dialogue that we're getting between Baez and Giselle. Where obviously we know Giselle gets easily annoyed by Baez, and most likely vice versa. But this is good. Like, and Baez is telling him, "Hey, by the way, Lord Isher is probably going to be trying to hit you up a few times over the next, couple weeks or months, etc."
Yeah, I may have made certain promises.
Yeah,
On your behalf.
yeah. I told him that he get to, him and his brothers would be, or that his brothers would be Lord Chamberlain and Chancellor on the close council. Blah blah blah. He's like, oh, okay, so I should honor the bargain. Baez,
No.
absolutely no. Giselle's so confused, but Baez tells him, once you get power, you want to immediately distance yourself from your allies, or else they think they'll believe that you owe them your position. And so, what you want to do is hook up your enemies, so then they're even more. They'll be pleasantly surprised, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Which
And this
is
is a classic, like revolutionary thinking. So whenever there's a revolution in a country or a coup or a new leadership comes in, they always manage things this way. Like you always get rid of your closest allies that helped you, so that you've got all of the power, and then you can just kind of dish it out to, in little bits to other people, so that they're content in their place.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
it's
this is
actually
great. Like this is Baez's fucking scheming coming through to the forefront.
Yep. Yep. This man's a master plotter. Go ahead, Harrison.
no, I just was agreeing with George. Yeah, I was like that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. And he tells him, so these are the men that you bring into your circle. And then Giselle's like, what about Brock? And he's like, never that guy. That guy got way too close to being king. So, don't even. And then Giselle's like, Jesus, there's a lot more to being king than I thought.
Giselle thought he was just gonna be like. I just love his awe, like,
Yeah.
and like he goes from being like, why is Bias talking to me like this? I mean, am I actually the king? I'm getting dressed like this. It just doesn't feel like it. To, oh my god, if I'm the king, then who is Giselle? To, wait, am I supposed to contribute to this? How am I supposed to keep up with all this? And then in just a minute, he's like, oh, the seat of government, the places where real decisions are made. To, oh my god, it's just a bunch of old men bickering. It's a wild ride.
We're gonna get there, but yeah. So then they start, they continue their walk. They're going through whatever buildings, the Agrion and all that, and then they finally get to the close council's chambers, and and then they walk in during an argument because I guess the close council is already convened, and or commenced or whatever you want to say. And I think it is convened. And Lord Chamberlain Hoff takes the time to say congratulations, and he introduces Giselle to each of the counselors. We have High Justice Morovia, Archlector Salt, Lord Marshal Varuz. Hold on. Excuse me. All right. Halleck, the Lord Chancellor, Torlik Korm, the High Consul, Rutzer, the Lord Admiral, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Then he it's like, all right, nice to meet you. He sits down, and then he's just staring at them. He's like, oh shit, that's right. You guys can be seated. Yes. And I like how a few of them that are really old were like, ugh, as they try to sit down, but Baez just plops his ass down in the chair like nothing, like, and he just like puts a leg over the arm and everything.
Yeah, he's like he performs the rocker maneuver when he sits down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then the judge's like, continue, please. I'll try to catch up. And then boom, they immediately start. They're arguing, and they're arguing over, I guess, the peasants, and I guess they're arguing about how to tax or property ownership. And it's getting heated. Obviously, on one side is Salt's people, on the other side is Moravia's people. Moravia's pro peasant, Salt is anti peasant, and
And Salt is not pro peasants.
yeah, he's anti peasant. That's what I just said, didn't I?
Yeah, you broke up. I'm sorry. I was just trying.
Sorry. Salt
You're
is
breaking up a lot.
I am really.
It's okay. I just
That
wanted
was very
to-
okay for me.
You broke up like once and then twice, and that's what I said something, and then now it's
Okay. So Morovia on one side is pro peasant, Salt on the other side is anti peasant. And they talk about how their system has either succeeded or failed for centuries. And Giselle clears his throat. He's like, could each man not just easily be taxed the same proportion of his income, regardless of either he's a peasant or a nobleman? And then
And they're all just like looking at him.
they're just staring at him.
what and is it
It's Torlicorm. He's like, Your Majesty, such a system would be almost impossible to administer. And then Go ahead.
George, you got to do the voice. I know you know it. I know you can do his voice.
yeah, so apparently
Tolicorm, Your Majesty.
Your Majesty. Such a system would be almost impossible to administer.
and he blinked in a manner that said,
With how do you manage to dress yourself given your incredible ignorance?
I love it whenever Giselle has these moments of like Giselle's not like a complete idiot, and so like sometimes he has these like perfect ways of looking at people with their expressions. He can read expressions so well. So he looks at all these people. He does that thing that he's done the whole time.
It's the poker player in him.
Yes. I love
It's literally from the first chapter with Giselle. Like, this is what he does. He like you say, he kind of reads people's faces and puts meaning into it. But I love this bit in the actual prose where it's like they looked at him quite as if he was like a domestic pet that had been ill-advisedly let into the room and had suddenly decided to speak up on the subject of taxation. I don't know about anyone else. I get really Douglas Adams fucking vibe from that, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's very fucking funny.
I just love. There's so many of those little isms in this chapter.
It's so good. Yeah, it's so good. And then I like how he just so then they continue arguing, and then Giselle's starting. Oh, I see what happens. They argue. One side wins, or maybe comes to some agreement, and then I sign a paper, and that's basically it. And so he just starts drinking a lot of wine. And it's just like that. It's like, can you sign here? Can you sign here? Can you sign here? And then the next matter, the next topic is about, Lord Marshal Burr had died. And now we need to figure out who's going to be the new Lord Marshal over there. And Giselle's like, wait a minute. I have some experience here. And on one side, we have Salt is for Polder, which is interesting to me because I would assumed he would be for Croy. Because
Polder is the better man.
I have a thought on that.
But the only reason I'm saying I thought he would have been for Croy is because when Salt is described, he's described as immaculately kept, not a single white hair out of place, etc., etc. Croy's the same way. So it's funny that he would go for more of a braggadocio like Polder. So
It's very that's very true actually. Like it is interesting how they don't necessarily align with their choices.
yeah.
Well, I think so. From what I understand, like, yeah, Croy is very regimental and like, oh, this is the best course of action. But Polder is old nobility. I mean, he's like, oh, the cavalry child just gotta win the day. And Salt is very much very traditional, extremely traditional. So I think it's more about what their personalities and values represent, less so than how their actual personalities, like how they get along, is less important than what they stand for. So like
okay.
Croy has his daughter running around in the camp, a girl. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
coming in with the court. Yeah, he runs a tight ship, but like as we see in future, he has some tendencies that are like if they were actually having a one-on-one conversation, Morovia being all like egalitarian would totally be like Croy would not disagree with almost anything that Morovia would say. However, Polder would be like, no, the peasants are weak.
Right.
Only noblemen should be in the cavalry.
Okay. I'm getting it. Okay. So, like I was saying, Salt is for Polder and Morovia is for Croy, and obviously they're just bitching at each other, and then because they can't come up to an agreement, they're like, okay, let's go on to the next thing, but it's still related to the army. Okay, so it's about or supply chain for our army in England. Colonel West, he's writing about, and then Giselle's like, West? And he's like,
my friend.
and he goes, he does this. Colonel West shall be my new Lord Marshal.
Like, so out of the blue, he has been quiet for like 3 hours, and Amanda goes, Colonel West shall be my new Marshal.
Right, because he's been drunk. Yeah, that's right. And then Torlicorm, because they're all stunned. They're like, and they're like, he actually made a decision. They're like, and then Torlicorm's like, Your Majesty, Colonel West is known to you personally in a brave man, of course. And then everyone's like, first through the breach, and so on. But really, he's junior and inexperienced. Hoff says he's a commoner.
He's a commoner.
Halleck is like, an unseemly break with tradition. And then Salt is like, Polder would be better. And then Morovia is like, Croy is the man. And then Torlicorm to the king, to Giselle's like, so you see, Your Majesty, we simply cannot possibly consider Colonel West as a bang.
Yeah.
Giselle launched his fucking goblet and it crashed into Torlicorm's fucking face.
Broke skin.
Yeah, it broke his fucking.
He's got blood running down his head.
Yep, gash and everything. And then Giselle's all angry. Now he's angry. He's drunk and pissed because he's tired of being like shunned like this. He's like, cannot? You dare fucking give me cannot?
I love how quickly, like, this is how long it took for power to go to his head.
Exactly.
Like, I owed all of you.
I will have you in chains. And he's just throwing everything, ink, paper, chairs, whatever. He's just losing it.
Everyone is like shuffling away, like, but they're all old, so they're all like slowly leaving. It's fucking hilarious. If you think about it, he's like, oh, I'm gonna have your head fall. He's just like, I am the king, and then everyone's like slowly walking out. Like, I'm sorry, Your Majesty.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he's like, Colin West shall be my new Lord Marshal, and I will be treated with the proper respect. Bet you his voice is cracking and everything.
And he just starts like tapering off, like he just like and then it doesn't know what to say.
Yeah, and then Baez rescues him, right? Baez is like, my lords, that will be all for today. And then they all start like shuffling away, and then who is it? Varus, and is it Varus and Hoff or somebody's helping Torlicorm? And he's like, I apologize, Your Majesty. I apologize.
Your Majesty, I'm sorry.
And then Baez is waiting, for everyone else to leave, and then he turns to look at Giselle, and he just is smiling. He's like, "Wow, well done, well done." And Giselle's like, "What, really?" And he's like, "Yeah. Now they'll think twice before taking you lightly." He's like, not the newest strategy, but doesn't mean it's not effective. He's like, Herod the Great himself had a fearsome temper and made excellent use of it. After one of his tantrums, no one would dare question his decision for weeks. Although I suspect even he wouldn't have thought about hurting one of his own close counsel. And then Giselle, I guess, got mad that he used the word tantrum. And he goes, there was no tantrum. I will not be treated like that if I am a king. I will be treated. I will refuse to be dictated to in my own palace, not by anyone. And then he goes, not by, and because, because Bias is glaring at him, he's like, if you think you're going to lose your temper with me, I highly advise against it. And then Giselle's like, of course, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
He's like looking away.
He's like, I didn't mean to. That's not, no. And then he goes, I don't know how this happened. I don't deserve this. And Bias is like, of course not. No one deserves it. All you can do is strive to be worthy of it. And Giselle's, this is like one of the first, very few, I think you could say, compliments maybe he pays to Bias. He goes, you're right, of course. How can you always be right? And Bias is like, oh, no, I'm just a humble man. I just have the benefits of long experience. That is all. I am here to guide you as much as I can. So, and we have a lot, there are certain steps that we need to take that we can't delay. And most important of them, one of them is your wedding. And Giselle's like, what? Your wedding? What? And he basically says, look, a wedding solidifies your position, shores up your defenses because it doesn't, it doesn't allow your enemies to make political moves against you because you've shored up, you're on shaky ground already as it is, buddy. You're a bastard. You're a natural son, so I got to get you going. And Giselle essentially is like, well, see, I kind of had like some plans on that. And then Bias says, Artie West? And he goes, son of a bitch. And Bias here, to his credit, plays up the empathy. Yeah, he plays up the empathy card. He understands. He's like, I know how it is. I have lived a long life. Of course you love her. Of course you would give anything up for her now. But that feeling will not last. And then he goes,
it's very interesting going from Bias.
Yeah, very interesting.
I think he's actually really speaking from the heart here. I think honestly, for this whole chapter, I think he actually is being honest.
Yeah.
The whole time.
I'd agree. And he says that it's only natural that you had made commitments, but your past life is it's gone because you are a totally new person now. So you're a king, especially, and you got to behave like it. So you need to look at the women that are
the hottest babes out there. It's like the Bachelorette, but
It's the hottest babes out there. He was being a classist, and you're like, tits and ass, boy.
Bias is like, you got to get all the women with the right assets now, not just the.
But listen, by all accounts, Artie West is hot. But he does say you need a mother to kings. Now, a farmer's daughter with a tendency towards unpredictable behavior and a penchant for heavy drinking. He says
a penchant, doesn't he?
He says what?
He says
a penchant.
Penchant.
He says that.
You can say penchant if you're a posh.
Well, Bias will be posh, but Harrison, here in America, it's penchant. Okay.
I know. It's just
just make sure.
Interesting that in the audiobook, Pacey says it like he even gives Bias like he says it, like French.
Yeah.
Which is really confusing.
Well, that's
it
because
implies that there's such thing as the French in the First Law universe.
Yeah. Well, we have Pharaoh, so
That is a good point.
Yeah, that's probably what he got it from. He learned the word from Pharaoh.
Yeah, probably. Bias did. But so yeah, he and Giselle felt a little guilty and uncomfortable, but he couldn't really argue it. Like hearing Artie described that way, unpredictable behavior and heavy drinking. Which is like, listen, that's right up my book. I mean, I'd marry Artie West in a goddamn heartbeat. He's my soulmate. But Bias reinforces the fact that you're a natural son, so you need duke's daughters, king's sisters, princesses, and that's what you need to marry, and you have a whole world of them to choose from. And Giselle's like, Interesting. Interesting. I do love Artie,
Of
but
course.
of course, but but Bias is making a very, very good argument. I do love her again. I do love her, of course, but a world of princesses to choose from. It's hard to find fault with. And then Bias is like, "You see it. I will send to Duke Orso of Talons that his daughter Therese should be introduced to you." Now, just to begin with, because Talons would make a powerful ally. But let's see. And he's like, "By the way, you don't need to leave everything behind. If you really are attached to this girl, kings often keep mistresses, you know." Wink, wink, wink.
I
And
like
that
how it's just, and that, of course, decided the
decided
matter.
I love it. Love it. And that ends the chapter. Fellas, how do you rate this one?
I'm gonna give this one a 7 and a knuckle. I really like this. I love Giselle's first day as king. Or it's probably not his first day, is it? But our first kind of glimpse.
Uh,
And
First,
he is just as fucking clueless
yeah,
as
yeah.
he was before. But now he's got like supreme power, and seeing what it's like to see this clueless brat who doesn't really know anything and is extremely selfish at the reins it's very entertaining.
It is. It's so funny. I will say, yeah, I think it is his first day in the office. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Harrison, what would you give it?
I think I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 9
Ooh.
because I think like seeing Giselle having like his own, he has like a little arc through this,
Yeah.
and he goes up and down, up. He's grasping, and the one thing he just talked about how he's not gonna be dictated to, how he's not gonna be, he's gonna do what he needs, he's gonna do what he wants and everything because he is the king. And then the one person who he probably could have that could be close to him, but still he could have said no, I'm gonna marry Artie. And he didn't. Um, and it's just really entertaining to see him because we get to see like old fashioned Giselle, but also mixed in like this new Giselle trying to find himself again is like Giselle as we see him from now on, which is a kind of an oblivious, a bit of power, but doesn't know how to wield it, but is not an utter weakling and not an idiot. He's just, you know, uh,
It's just Giselle.
he's just out, good humored, yeah, good humored benevolence or whatever. He also, I like the other part of this chapter, which is Baez. Baez is amazing in this chapter. He's super honest, like the whole time. I honestly don't like lying. Like even whenever he says, like, yeah, he's maybe having a little bit of bluster here, but he's like, oh yeah, I'm just a humble man, you know. I think that yeah, he doesn't say I'm a humble man. He's like, oh, I'm not that good. I've just had a lot of
Right,
experience, which
right.
is which is true. He's not really lying, and I think he actually is like, oh, I feel for you, Giselle. Like I get it. There's a girl. I understand. Proud of you for standing up for yourself, but not with me. I don't know. He just it creates. We think we kind of understand. Oh my God, Bias is a manipulator. But then we get to this chapter, and yeah, he's manipulating him, but he's also being like, just like kind of nice. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, he's
So
definitely guiding him in
Yeah.
a like an effective way. He's not like trying to fucking screw up his raid or anything.
Yeah, let's remember that we're reading this chapter with the fact that we've already read the series multiple times. So even from this, like Baez is like, there's something up with him, you could say, but we don't really get the idea that he's manipulating things, but that he is, well, I mean, he obviously scheming to get Giselle voted in, but you get a sense of that. But the extent of it, we're not sure. So like as a first time reader, you're just getting the sense that he's taking Giselle under his wing. He's telling Giselle what to do, but he's telling him because he knows what works over many, 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 many years of experience.
right,
That's what I think.
yeah.
And I think I'm gonna split the difference. This one, 7 and a knuckle for this chapter for me. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was fun. It was good to see Giselle, like you said, Harrison. He has like a mini arc in this chapter, and he starts off as a completely out of water, like a fish out of water. And Baez is filling him in on like how to make these maneuvers politically in terms of like his allies and his enemies. And then we get to the close council. He gets shut down a little bit when he decides, like, hey, what about a relatively fair and simple tax system? Oh, too much to do. Sorry. And then he puts his foot down and stands up for himself at the end. And then he accepts that his past is past. Whatever possible relationship he might have had with Artie is done, and that he's got to move forward. But maybe he could bring Artie along for the ride. See what happens See what happens there, you know?
Hey, would you mind being my whore?
Yeah, we'll see how that goes over with Artie. So yeah, 7 and knuckle for me. Splitting the difference. All right, we had 2 sequential scores. I like that. Nice. Because you split the difference last time, Harrison. I split the difference this time.
Yeah. I was homeschooled. I'm not an idiot.
Well, I mean, you over here saying penchant, and it's like, all right.
But Maya said.
All right. Look.
And for those who are wondering, there is not going to be a community interaction segment this week because they put the first law Reddit down for a bit, which is a whole thing. You can investigate that on your own. Not going to give any voice to that.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the stuff that we normally would do, it was kind of on hold and couldn't be looked at anyway. So we'll get back to it next week.
Yeah, that's correct. So we'll just go straight into the character spot, and then we'll end this episode. Character spot, George or Harrison?
So we're doing, is it Torlicorn?
Yes, it is.
Yes, Torlicorn.
Hi,
the wheedling counselor of mediocrity.
Let's talk about him real quick. So he at first he was able to silence Giselle, not silence Giselle, but be like, no, he's okay, and then he tries it again, Mr. King, no, and then he gets a fucking goblet in his face for his troubles. What do we think about this?
I think this is funny because this is like routine for him. This guy. This has been happening every single time there's been a meeting and like Gustav was present, and he's just like, we know what he was like.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he's expecting that. He's just expecting this sort of like weak-willed puppet that they can all just kind of push around. Mm-hmm. And he gets sharply reminded that isn't the case.
That's right, Harrison.
Yeah, I do. He's a high counselor, right?
High consul.
Consul. What is that?
We have no idea what that means in context.
I would have to assume something to do with maybe like law, or like besides Morovia, maybe something to do with
Well, in the original meaning of the word it's a Roman thing. So
right.
A consul would be in charge of a foreign conquered government.
Okay. So maybe like territorial expansion. Maybe I don't know.
Maybe he deals with
Maybe he's the foreign
dignitary,
foreign policy minister or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, if he's he I was having some. I was here, consular, and for some reason I couldn't get it in my head like like a therapy counselor. he's like keep pigs terrible.
Spelling, buddy. Different spelling.
I know. All homeschooled, remember? Don't bully me, Jeff.
I'm sorry.
But I like that he is like trying to talk to Giselle like he's like a child. It's extremely entertaining. But like you guys said, like he's used to dealing with Gustav, where it wasn't just like, oh, we can manipulate him. I think it was like necessary for them to talk to him that way.
Exactly.
I don't think Gustav, like, it wasn't just like maybe Salt and Morovia, like, oh, I can manipulate him. But I think like Torlicorn, the ironic part is I think he's actually trying to like explain to His Majesty, I don't think it's a good idea. Like listen, let me explain to you why. That way you can learn. And then like he just gets hit in the head. I like to think that he's actually trying to help him out and just gets views for it.
That's a show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover Prepared for the Worst and The Habit of Command.
And make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Reddit when that's back up, and we've got a website at circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app. And please make sure to rate and review. Thank you all again for listening.
You dare give me fucking cat off?